Hello, my name is Anthony Saccaro, founder and president of Providence Financial and Insurance Services, located right in the heart of the San Fernando Valley in Woodland Hills, California. I'm also host of the Providence Financial Retirement Show, which airs every Saturday on AM 870 KRLA The Answer, and also on FM 99.5 KKLA, both of those Southern California stations. And I wanted to take a minute and just talk about some new changes that are really causing an upheaval in the entire financial industry. And those changes have to do with the Department of Labor rules and the rules that now go into effect on June 9th, which is this Friday or some time ago, depending on when you're watching this video. But I'm recording this video on June 7th, 2 days before June 9th. And we've got a lot of questions about that. It's made the media, and there are some people that are asking me questions because this is the best interest rule. This is a rule that basically says that financial advisors now have to act in your best interest. And some people have come to me and said, hey, wait a second, what do you mean financial advisors now have to act in my best interest? Weren't they always acting in my best interest? And the answer is not necessarily. They weren't required to act in your best interest. So I really wanted to just take maybe 5 to 10 minutes and share how this rule is going to affect you or not going to affect you and what it means behind the scenes. And yet understand that this rule, that the legal component of this rule is over 1,000 pages. So I'm certainly not going to regurgitate 1,000 pages. I'm going to try to take my perspective and give it to you in just 5 or 10 minutes. And let me start by then explaining the two standards that have been in existence and that will still continue to be in existence after this new rule. You've got the suitability standard and you have the fiduciary standard. The suitability standard says that as long as a product is suitable for you, then an advisor can recommend it. However, the best interest standard, the fiduciary standard, says that a product must be in your best interest in order for an advisor to recommend it. Otherwise, they cannot legally recommend it. So let's talk about suitability standard for a minute. The suitability standard says as long as an investment's suitable, they can recommend it. And most advisors out there are working for a big Wall Street firm that essentially sells mutual funds. And most advisors are getting paid commissions, they're getting paid residuals behind the scenes, overrides of the funds or the investments that they're recommending for you. And all the investments recommended, or all the investments that are available, they charge you a different fee, they pay a different commission, and call me crazy, but if one mutual fund pays less commission as opposed to another one, well, which one do you think the advisor is more likely to recommend? And of course, that's not necessarily true with all advisors, but the reality is it's a commission-driven market. That's absolutely for sure. And yet, an advisor might be able to have recommended one of two mutual funds before, both of them very suitable for you. One of them may be paid a little higher commission, and maybe it charged you a little higher fees. Well, that was okay before. Even if there was a mutual fund that maybe charged you a little lower in fees and maybe paid a little lower in commissions, the advisor, under the suitability standard, because either one of these was suitable, could still recommend the one that paid a little higher commission, charge you a little higher fees. But not now. Now, the advisor has to recommend the one that's in your best interest. And if you've got two identical mutual funds or mutual funds that are similar to each other, and one is charging a higher fee and one is charging a lower fee to you, then the one that's in your best interest certainly is likely to be the one that's charging the lower fee. And certainly there's a lot of other factors to consider, and I'm giving you the oversimplification. But the key is that as long as an investment was suitable for you before, an advisor could recommend it. And if you didn't like it, if you were to sue them, as long as they could prove it was suitable, then no problem. They would win, most likely. Fiduciary standard is a little bit different. Out of all these investments, my firm has been a fiduciary standard since 2007. I've always done that anyway, so this new rule doesn't affect me at all. But essentially, as a fiduciary standard, we have to choose the one that's in your best interest. And we've had to do that for the last decade, so this is nothing new to us. But what that really means to you is that if we choose an investment for you, and you could show that there was a better investment than the one we chose, and you sue us, then guess what? You win. Why? Because we didn't choose the investment that was in your best interest. And now what's happening is all of the big Wall Street firms out there are in an uproar, an upheaval about this, and they're having to change their business plans because now where they were able to recommend suitable investments, now they have to recommend investments that are in your best interest. And that's a big deal behind the scenes for these firms. As a matter of fact, I'm going to look off camera for a second because I got hold of a letter that was written to one of the clients of this big Wall Street firm. And certainly I don't want to, I'm not going to name the firm. You would all know the firm. And it was just a cover letter that basically came to a particular client. And I'm not even going to read the whole letter because there's a lot of it that's just relevant standard sales language, if you will. But I thought it was interesting, and I think you'll find it interesting as well, too. So really, it's titled, Please Review Important Changes to Your IRA. Okay? And it says, what is changing and why, as a headline. And then under that, it says, as you may have heard, the Department of Labor released new IRA rules that go into effect June 9, 2017. The rules require financial advisors to operate under a new standard called fiduciary standard, which generally means that they must act in the best interests of their clients. And then it goes on for another sentence naming the company, but then it concludes that paragraph with this. These rules impact all retirement accounts, including your IRA. As of June 9th, your options will change. So, call me crazy, but that cover letter is essentially saying that we have to act in your best interest now, so we're going to change things in order to start doing that. And I just found that funny when I got my hands on this particular letter. But that's what's happening across the industry, going from suitability to fiduciary standard. Now, how does that affect you? Well, behind the scenes, it may not have too big of an impact on you. It may mean that some advisors are going to want to up their minimums. There's going to be more paperwork behind the scenes, and more paperwork costs more money, more regulations cost more money, and so you may have less access down the road to some advice. But overall, as a consumer, I don't think you're going to have a big impact, especially if you don't have any IRAs. And the reason I say that is because this rule only affects IRAs. It does not affect non-IRAs. So somehow the Department of Labor thinks that IRAs are worthy of a fiduciary standard where we have to act in your best interest if it's an IRA. But if it's a non-IRA, well, then that's okay. We don't have to act in your best interest. But that's the way the rule is. So if you have IRAs at a big brokerage firm and you have non-IRAs at a big brokerage firm, well, your IRAs fall under the fiduciary standard, your non-IRAs do not. Your non-IRAs do not fall under that standard. If you don't have an IRA at one of these big firms, you just have non-IRAs, well, then guess what? It doesn't affect you at all. The suitability standard still applies. And that's just important to understand. Now, at my firm, as I mentioned earlier, we have always taken the high road. I've always operated under a fiduciary standard. And it's funny because I'm pretty well connected in the industry. Probably a half a dozen times a year, I'm traveling, I'm getting on a plane, I'm going to industry conferences, I'm rubbing shoulders with guys from all walks of life when it comes to the financial industry. And oftentimes, for the last decade, I'll be in a seminar and I'll be eating breakfast or lunch with someone and I'll be getting to know them and talking to them, and they'll find out that I'm a fiduciary because I own the firm. They'll find out that I'm under this standard. And oftentimes they'll say something like this, "Oh, okay, you're a fiduciary. Oh, that's a lot of responsibility. That means you have to act in the best interest of your clients." And literally, I was appalled that they would say something like this because I've always acted in the best interest of my clients, whereas essentially what they're saying is we're under a different standard. We have the suitability standard. We don't have to act in the best interest of our clients. And I've been saying that for a decade. This is what's going on. And now those advisors are in an uproar. It doesn't affect us at all. If you're a client of mine, it doesn't affect you at all, which is phenomenal news. Now, with regards to these other advisors, it only affects their IRA clients. It doesn't affect their non-IRA clients. And so I hope this video helps. I hope it just gives you a quick rundown as far as the Department of Labor rules, just give you a basic understanding as far as a client. If you're a client of mine, again, it doesn't affect you at all. Thank you for your trust. Thank you for your business. If you're not a client of mine and you're with one of these Wall Street firms, or you have non-IRAs and you realize that maybe you're under the suitability standard, but you'd like to be under the fiduciary standard, and have an advisor that really is acting in your best interests from the get-go, by choice, not necessarily because the law has forced them to, then I'd certainly love to talk to you. And you're welcome to call me or get in touch with us. And the best way to do that is through our website at www.providencefinancialinc.com. And certainly I would love to chit-chat with you. The number here is 818-887-6443. And I hope this helps. Have a great week. Have a great day. God bless.